Hello, my name is Emphrey, and this is a Godot tutorial. Now this tutorial, we're going to talk about global maps and how to control your character's starting position for whenever your character changes scenes. For example, the goal for my main character is to start in this scene right here, which I would call the main scene, and we'll go into this restaurant, which is in 3D, and we're going to come back out of this restaurant and end up in this position that's we specify. You'll be able to start here or wherever we choose. Okay, so this is our main scene, and as you've seen, our character started right here. And you notice that our character is nowhere in this list like it would usually be in maybe other tutorials. We didn't include our player in this list because we made our main character global. And we also made this main scene global too, because this is the scene that we're going to be going back to. Okay, so our first step is to make the main scene global. So to make the main scene global, go to Project, Project Settings. Then click this folder, go down, and we click on our main scene. The main scene should be the .tscn file. Since we're going to make our main scene global, I'm going to put our main scene in caps as a reminder that our main scene is global now. Okay, click Add. Next, I'm going to make my main character global too. My main character's name is Henry 2D Transform Version. So we're going to make this global too. Project, Project Settings. Click the folder, Henry 2D Transform Version. That's the original name for our character. We're also going to have a global name for our main character too. So I'm just going to call it Henry 2D. So that will be our character's global name. This is the name that we'll use when we want to work with our character in any scene or in any script. Click Add. So we made our main scene global and we got our global character. And as far as your 3D scene goes, set it up the way you normally set up your 3D scene. This is the 3D version of my character. And I usually like to have my camera inside of my 3D players. Like let's say you want to use this player again in another scene where you'd always have your camera. So that's what I did. All you gotta do is select this top one, click the plus, search camera, not camera 2D, but regular camera. Remember the regular word has to do with 3D. So just regular camera, click create. I already did that. And then move your camera to where you want it to be in your scene and click current. Click current so that once you switch to this room, your camera will already be active and you can continue from there. And there's no need to make this scene global. This will remain an isolated scene, and it's not what our character will always come back to. Our character will mostly come back to this main scene that we made global. Okay, so now we got to create world camera to follow our player wherever he goes in this scene. I mean, this is a whole big scene, but you just want a camera that's going to follow the player. I already created the camera, but in order to create the camera, you click on main, click the plus for camera 2D, then click create, and then after clicking create, it gave me this camera here. And I'm going to rename this camera, let's call it world camera, because it's the camera that's governing this world here. Okay, so I got my world camera, and then after I got my camera, I right click, attach script, world camera GD, that sounds good. Click load. In this script, make sure you got this extends camera 2D here, otherwise none of this stuff will work. Okay, so now I'm going to paste in this little bit of code. I mean, it's just a couple of lines. And here we got func process delta, which keeps track of the movement of our camera and character. And this says if Henry 2D is not in 3D or is not in our 3D scene, if he's not here, the exclamation mark means not. Then the camera's position.x, this position.x has to do with the camera. So this says camera's position.x equals to Henry 2D's position.x. So that means the camera's going to follow Henry on the x-axis. X-axis usually in game programming means from right to left or horizontal. And the camera's position.y equals Henry 2D's position.y. Y usually has to do with up and down or the vertical. So the camera's going to follow Henry in the vertical direction. And this minus 130 is optional. All this minus 130 does is just move the camera up a little bit. See this camera here? All minus 130 does is just move this camera up here so that we can see our player better, at least in my game. But again, putting minus 130 there is optional. You could either delete it or keep it. And then last step, I'm going to go to my character script. Now, character movement is beyond the scope of this tutorial, but in your character script, once you already got your character that already moves around, I go into that character script and I included this variable here. This variable tells whether your character is in the 2D scene or 3D scene. And right now, I set this in 3D variable to false because we won't be in our 3D scene yet. So then, after you create this variable, you go down here and put the if not in 3D right here. Select all your character controls and then hit the tab button so it can move over. So all of your character controls can be under this. This is so that your 2D character doesn't move while you're in 3D, and thus so that you don't get weird effects while you're in 3D. Our main character scene, since our main character is global, now you have to deal with it in the character scene, dealing with our character. You see this position tab right here? We have our character starting at minus 164 and Y minus 9. So if you look at our main scene and look at this ruler up here, you see this minus 150 and minus 200. Minus 164 is between minus 150 and minus 200 on the x-axis, and minus 9 is between the 0 and minus 50 on the y-axis. So that's why our character starts here. And it's just dealing with the starting position. Okay, so from our main scene to get from here to here, we needed a script. So what I did was I clicked on main, clicked the plus, I searched for area 2D here, create, and then it got me this area node right here, which I renamed to go into Wong In. And then I clicked on this node again to add a collision shape 2D. Then click create, and then that's what got me this. And then right here, I went to this box here and selected new rectangle 2D. And that's how I got this box right here. So then I attached script and then named it go into Wong In and click load. And that's how I got this part here. Okay, so now I'm just going to paste in this. And what I did was for areas in area, my main character is actually area 2D node. I know some people like to make their characters kinematic body. I like to make my character an area node so that I can access these nodes over here, especially the ones when you're entering certain places and exiting certain places. Okay, so we have func process delta. That's what makes movement possible, and this is what checks whether our character has made it to this point or not. So then I created a variable areas because remember our character is an area 2D node, and this is an area as well. So I got a for loop that says if area and area, if the areas come together, or if our character enters that area and our character's name is Henry 2D, because Henry 2D is the name that we gave our character. So if what comes into the area is an area called Henry 2D, and if somebody pressed the UI accept button, the UI accept button is the enter button. So whenever Henry goes to that area and somebody presses the UI accept button, get scene tree and change scene. Wong _ ends _ 3D _ tutorial.tscn. They will then end up here. And that's how a person would get here. Okay, so let's run the game and see what it looks like at that point. Okay, so once we do that, it'll look like this at this point. Now, here we got this gray area right here. It's actually our main scene. Remnants of this main scene that we made global. See, since our main scene is global, it'll end up showing up in all sections of your game, including the 3D parts. And we don't want this right here because we're inside the restaurant and we don't want the 2D in our restaurant. You know, this looks weird right here. So what we do is we'll go to our Wong Ends, and that's why I created this script here. So what I did was swung in this 3D scene, right click, attach script. I attach the script right here, and make sure you have the extend spatial. Otherwise your code won't work. And I pasted in this section right here. I make the main scene invisible. So next time we launch our game, we won't see our main 2D map in our 3D scene. It'll actually still be there, but we won't see it. Again, the main scene is going to always be there because it's global. And that main scene will be in all your scenes. So you'd have to make it invisible so your scene will look normal and won't look weird. Okay, so we made our main scene invisible, so let's try it now. Okay, let's go in. See, our main scene is gone and everything looks normal now. Okay, so now we're going to work on the part of going back out of this door here. Back to our main scene. We now working with the 3D scene. And make sure this first spatial node is selected. Then what I did was I clicked the plus. Since we're in 3D, I add an area node. Area node and not the area 2D node. The plain name in Godot deals with 3D. So area, click create, and that's how I ended up with this node right here. And then I just named it go outside. And then I click this node again, click the plus, then do collision shape. The plain old collision shape, not collision shape 2D. Create. And then the collision shape over here, I use the box shape right here. And then you can use these arrows right here to resize your collision shape to your liking. You also might want to resize your area node. So I put this collision shape right here, and I resize my area node too. Area node, and make sure that my area node that I named go outside, make sure that that node is the same size as my collision shape so that you don't get weird effects and stuff. Okay, so then when your area node, which I call go outside, and your collision shape are the same size, you can just put them together. And then after that, I right click and attach a script. I call it go outside. Click create. So then you get this section right here. Again, you want to have this extends area. Otherwise your code won't work if you don't have this section here. And I'm just going to paste in this code now. In this case, we're dealing with bodies. Bodies because my character is a kinematic body. I mean, you can have an area node or whatever, but this is a kinematic body. So I gave it a variable name of bodies, just like I did with the area node in my main scene. It's bodies equals get overlapping body. And then I created a for loop. It says for body, again, meaning kinematic body for my character. Body and bodies, see we're attaching our variable. If body is named AT3D, so I put my 3D character's name right here. You can just copy and paste it if you want. So if body is named AT3D underscore faster, meaning that if my character comes to this area part that we made here and enter button is pressed, then we're going to go back to the main scene. That is, we're going to go back from this 3D scene back to our main scene here using, the get tree dot change scenes. You don't even have to write res. You can just put this too and it'll still work. This is the normal way of changing scenes. But the twist here is we're specifying where in our scene the 2D version of Henry is going to start. So that's the twist with this script. And that's kind of like the main idea of this tutorial too. We use a global name, Henry2D dot position X equals the same starting position that we had, minus 164. You can even just copy and paste it here. And we got the minus 9. You can copy and paste that too. So that's how we did that. So once again, if we launch our game, we can go back into our restaurant, and then when our character reaches his door, especially if our collision shapes are correct, and our character can go back outside this door here. So our code worked. I mean, ideally, you'd want your character to start in front of the restaurant because that would be more natural. But you can have your character start out here, in here, go back to our node where it says go outside. Instead of minus 164, it could be 1,000 or something. So then, when we relaunch our game, we enter the restaurant. Then when we try to go back out, we end up way down here somewhere. I mean, maybe this could be the exit point from some kind of underground tunnel or something. Let's say you want to make this a restaurant that you can go into as well. Well, you just repeat the same thing, create a way to go into another scene. It don't have to be 3D. It can be 2D. Then that'll be like another scene. You can do all your creating and decorating in here and stuff. And then you just create a script. You can specify your position to get you right back here. Just change the position part to make your character go where you want it to go. And that's the point of this tutorial. You can control your character's starting position for when you change scenes. So, you can take what you learned in this tutorial and expand on it. Until next time, thanks. Bye.